Welcome to the channel. Today, we are witnessing something that goes far beyond the boundaries of a traditional sports story. If you've been anywhere near a television, a smartphone, or a sports bar in the United Kingdom over the last few weeks, you already know the name on everyone's lips. The headline dominating the global conversation right now is bold, it is audacious, and it is entirely earned. The entire United Kingdom is obsessed. Alexandra Eala is a massive star, surpassing Novak Djokovic and Serena Williams in terms of the sheer, unadulterated media buzz and emotional resonance she has generated at Wimbledon this year. Now, when we talk about surpassing absolute legends like Djokovic and Serena, we are not talking about Grand Slam tallies. Not yet, anyway. We are talking about the magnitude of the moment, the electricity in the air, and the absolute chokehold she has on the British public and the global tennis community. The 21-year-old Filipina sensation has just produced one of the most astonishing, breathtaking runs in the history of the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club. She has not just knocked on the door of tennis royalty, she has kicked it down, stepped onto center court, and made it her own. Alexandra Eala has become the very first player from the Philippines in the Open era to reach the second week of a Grand Slam singles tournament, securing her place in the fourth round of Wimbledon 2026. But it is not just the fact that she made it to the round of 16. It is how she did it. She orchestrated a monumental, jaw-dropping upset over the defending champion and multiple Grand Slam winner, Iga Swiatek, in a match that will be replayed and analyzed for decades to come. She played with a level of fearlessness, tactical brilliance, and emotional vulnerability that instantly transformed her into a darling of the British crowd. The standing ovations, the tears on center court, the international headlines. This is the birth of a global superstar. Today, we're going to dive deep, really deep, into the making of this phenomenon. We will break down her tactical masterclass against Swiatek, her emotional journey, the intense preparation at the Rafa Nadal Academy, and what her historic breakthrough means for the future of tennis, the Philippines, and the world. Sit back, because the story of Alex Eala at Wimbledon 2026 is an absolute epic. Let us start by setting the scene on that fateful Saturday, July 4th, 2026. Center court at Wimbledon is the most hallowed ground in tennis. It is a place where legends are minted and where the pressure can crush even the most seasoned veterans. Enter Alexandra Eala, the 29th seed, stepping onto pristine grass to face Iga Swiatek. Swiatek is a powerhouse, a defending Wimbledon champion, a player whose aggressive topspin and tactical dominance have made her a nightmare for opponents across all surfaces. Eala, on the other hand, was stepping into her third-ever appearance on this grand stage. The tennis world expected a valiant effort from the young Filipina, but very few predicted the absolute masterclass that was about to unfold. From the very first point, it became entirely clear that Alexandra Eala had not come to merely participate. She had come to conquer. The opening set was a grueling, tense, and high-quality battle wills that stretched for an agonizing 84 minutes. This was not a quick exchange of service holds. This was trench warfare on grass. Swiatek came out swinging, looking dangerous with her trademark heavy forehand, aiming to push Eala deep behind the baseline. But Eala had a specific game plan, and she executed it with cold, calculating precision. Eala utilized her flat, penetrating, left-handed ground strokes to neutralize Swiatek's heavy spin. The grass surface at Wimbledon is fast, and it rewards players who can hit flat and take the ball early. Eala did exactly that. The momentum swung wildly. Swiatek grabbed an early break to lead 2-1, a moment where a lesser player might have folded. Instead, Eala responded immediately, breaking back and eventually pushing ahead to a 5-3 lead. But Swiatek is a champion for a reason. Refusing to surrender, the Polish star unleashed a barrage of winners, leveling the set and forcing what will become one of the most memorable tiebreaks in recent Wimbledon history. The tiebreak was an absolute thriller. It was a knife-edge confrontation where the margin for error was non-existent. Swiatek managed to grab an early mini-break, but Eala fought back brilliantly to lead 4-2. The tension inside center court was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. The score crept up, 6-all, 7-all, 8-all, 9-all. Swiatek held 2 set points during the stretch, moments where the entire stadium held its collective breath. Yet, Eala remained remarkably composed. She saved both set points, showing a mental fortitude that belied her 21 years. Finally, on Eala's 4-set point, Swiatek blinked. The Polish star sent a forehand long, and Eala took the tiebreak 11-9. Taking that first set gave Eala an immeasurable psychological edge, but it was what she did in the second set that truly proved her superstar credentials. Many young players experience a massive letdown after winning a draining, emotional first set against a top-tier opponent. Eala, however, smelled blood. She carried that momentum forward, breaking Swiatek to love in the opening game. Eala was returning with aggression, hitting precise passing shots, and her serve, traditionally the most scrutinized part of her game, was holding up under the immense pressure. She raced to a 4-0 lead in the second set, even when Swiatek showed her fighting spirit and recovered one break. Pushing Eala in a lengthy final game, the Filipina star refused to let the match slip. She saved 4 break points in that final, nerve-wracking game before sealing the victory on her third match point with a devastating cross-court forehand winner. The final score, 7-6, 6-2. The statistics from that match tell a story of clinical execution. Eala finished with 24 winners and just 21 unforced errors, an incredibly clean stat line for a match of that intensity. Swiatek, forced into an overly aggressive posture by Eala's relentless depth, hit 32 winners but leaked 44 unforced errors. Eala won 68% of points on Swiatek's second serve and broke the defending champion 5 times. It was the absolute dismantling of a world number 3. But it was the immediate aftermath of the match that truly captured the heart of the United Kingdom and the tennis world. As the reality of her victory set in, Alexandra Eala fell to her knees on the center court grass, burying her face in her hands as the tears flowed. The British crowd, known for their deep appreciation of tennis history and dramatic narratives, rose to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. During her on-court interview, still choked with emotion, Eala delivered a quote that has since gone viral worldwide. She said, "Maybe for someone like IGA who's won so many slams, or someone like Serena or Venus, this achievement may seem small. But for someone who grew up in the Philippines, she could not even finish the sentence before breaking down in tears again. That raw, unfiltered emotion is exactly why the UK is obsessed with her. In an era of highly media-trained athletes who often deal in sports cliches, Eala provided a moment of pure, unscripted humanity. She reminded everyone watching that behind the fierce baseline rallies and the million-dollar prize pools are young athletes carrying the weight of their own dreams and the hopes of entire nations. When we say she is surpassing the buzz of Djokovic and Serena, this is what we mean. While the legends are revered for their dominance and their endless accumulation of hardware, Eala is currently adored for her vulnerability, her rapid ascent, and her role as an underdog who is radically rewriting the geography of tennis success. To truly understand how Alexandra Eala arrived at this historic moment at Wimbledon 2026, we have to look back at the incredible foundation that has been built over the past several years. This victory over Swiatek was not a fluke. It was not a lucky day at the office. It was a culmination of years of grueling work, strategic planning, and a grass court season that signaled her readiness to take on the world. Leading up to Wimbledon, Eala had already put the tour on notice. She had just captured the WTA 125 title at the Birmingham Open, proving that her game translates beautifully to the slick, unpredictable grass courts. Following that triumph, she marched into the semifinals of the Berlin Tennis Open, a prestigious WTA 500 event. By the time she arrived in London, Eala had successfully adapted her aggressive baseline style to the unique demands of grass. Her game is a fascinating blend of modern power and tactical nuance. As a left-hander, she naturally creates awkward angles for right-handed opponents. Her forehand is her primary weapon, used to dictate rallies and pin her opponents deep behind the baseline. Her two-handed backhand is incredibly consistent, allowing her to control cross-court exchanges and change directions down the line with sudden, lethal pace. But perhaps her greatest asset on the grass this year has been her return game. Because of her exceptional anticipation and fast footwork, she is able to neutralize big serves and immediately turn defensive positions into offensive opportunities. However, no player is perfect, and Eala's journey has involved intense scrutiny of her weaknesses, most notably her serve. For years, tennis analysts, including former pros like Greg Ruzetsky and Martina Navratilova, pointed out that her serve lacked a raw pace and variation needed to dominate at the absolute highest level. Eala and her coaching team did not shy away from this criticism. They went to work. And when we talk about her coaching team, we are talking about tennis royalty. Eala's formative years as a professional were deeply shaped by the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. She has been molded by a philosophy that values relentless discipline, mental fortitude, and supreme physical conditioning. Coaches like Daniel Gomez and Joan Bosch laid the groundwork, but ahead of the 2025 season, Alexandra Eala stepped in to structure her preparation for the grueling demands of the WTA Tour. Then came the masterstroke, Tony Nadal, the man who engineered the career of Rafael Nadal, arguably the greatest competitor the sport has ever seen, joined Eala's team. Eala has openly described his involvement as a blessing. Tony Nadal brought a level of strategic depth and an expectation of absolute mental toughness that elevated Eala from a highly touted prospect to a legitimate giant slayer. When Eala faces adversity on the court, when she is down break points, or when she loses a set, you can see the Nadal Academy philosophy shining through. There is no panic. There is only the next point. This rigorous, elite training background is the invisible scaffolding holding up her magical Wimbledon run. Now, let us shift our focus from London to Southeast Asia, because the impact of Alexandra Eala's Wimbledon run is creating seismic waves halfway across the globe. To call her a massive star in the Philippines would be an understatement. She is rapidly becoming a national icon on the level of legendary figures like Manny Pacquiao and weightlifter Hidilyn Diaz. Tennis has historically not been a marquee sport in the Philippines. The country has a deep, passionate love affair with basketball and boxing. Before Eala, the last time a Filipino reached a Grand Slam singles quarterfinal was Felicissimo Ampon at the French Open back in 1953. For decades, the idea of a Filipina player dominating on center court at Wimbledon was a distant, almost impossible dream. Eala has shattered that ceiling into a million pieces. Throughout her Wimbledon campaign, interest back home surged to unprecedented levels. Broadcast searches for her matches spiked dramatically. For her fourth-round match, the Philsport Arena in Pasig City, a massive venue, hosted a free, live public screening. Thousands of fans gathered in the middle of the night, defying the massive time difference, to watch their 21-year-old hero compete on the world's most famous grass court. The political and cultural establishment of the Philippines has rallied behind her. Following her eventual exit in the round of 16, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took to social media to post a deeply moving tribute. He wrote, "This remarkable Wimbledon run may have come to an end, but after what you have accomplished, I believe the world has only begun to see what Filipinos are capable of. Thank you, Alex Eala, for proving that no dream is beyond the reach of a Filipino who dares to dream and works for it. The whole nation is proud of you. You will always be our champion." This level of national mobilization around a tennis player is staggering. It speaks to Eala's character, her humility, and her undeniable grit. She has represented her country fiercely on regional stages as well, winning multiple bronze medals at the Southeast Asian Games and the Asian Games, and leading Team Philippines to an undefeated sweep in the Billie Jean King Cup Asia/Oceania Group 3. She isn't just playing for ranking points or prize money. She is carrying the flag. Tennis legend Billie Jean King herself recognized this, taking to social media after Eala's victory over Swiatek to write, "What a treat to spend some time with Alex Eala, fresh off her historic win at Wimbledon today. She is the first Filipino to reach the round of 16. Such an inspiration for kids in the Philippines and all over the world. Keep going for it, Alex." When Billie Jean King calls you an inspiration, you have officially arrived. But every Cinderella run at a major tournament eventually faces a reality check. And for Eala, that came in the fourth round against the 13th seed, Jasmine Paolini of Italy. This match was highly anticipated. Paolini had reached the Wimbledon final 2 years prior and was in razor-sharp form. The two had history. Eala had actually defeated Paolini earlier in the year at the Dubai Tennis Championships. But the second Monday of Wimbledon, playing for a spot in the quarterfinals, is a different beast entirely. Eala opened the match on center court with the same fiery aggression she showed against Swiatek, But Paolini's experience on the big stage began to show. The Italian veteran, inspired by the presence of her idol Roger Federer in the royal box, managed to neutralize Eala's baseline power. The match was a grueling 2-hour and 22-minute affair. Eala dropped the first set 4-6, but showed incredible resilience to bounce back and take the second set 6-4, demonstrating once again that she never gives up without a dogfight. However, in the deciding third set, Paolini's consistency and tactical adjustments proved just a bit too much for the young Filipina. Paolini took the final set 6-3, ending Eala's historic Wimbledon campaign. Yet, in tennis, sometimes how you lose is just as important as how you win. Eala did not fade quietly into the London evening. She fought for every single point, showcasing a competitive spirit that deeply resonated with the crowd. When the final point was played and Eala approached the net to shake Paolini's hand, the 15,000-capacity center court crowd erupted. They gave the defeated 21-year-old a massive, sustained standing ovation. It was a roar of genuine respect and admiration. As she packed her bags and walked off the court, Eala stopped, turned the crowd, and formed a heart shape with her hands. The commentators noted that she exited not just as a defeated competitor, but as a champion of the people, describing her as a player who was incredibly easy to like. Even Paolini, in her on-court post-match interview, had to acknowledge the magic of the atmosphere, noting how special it was to play in front of a crowd that was so deeply invested in the narrative of the match. Eala may have lost the match, but she undeniably won the tournament in terms of public affection. So, what does this massive breakthrough mean for Alexandra Eala moving forward? First and foremost, it means a colossal leap in her professional standing. By reaching the round of 16 at Wimbledon, Eala earned 240 WTA ranking points. This significant boost will propel her to a new career-high world ranking of number 28. Breaking into the top 30 is a massive milestone in any tennis player's career. It means she will be seated at future Grand Slams, theoretically protecting her from facing the top-ranked players in the very early rounds, smoothing her path to deeper runs in major tournaments. Financially, her Wimbledon success is also a game-changer. Eala took home 300,000 British pounds, which is roughly 396,000 US dollars, in prize money for reaching the fourth round. When you combine that with her earnings from the rest of the 2026 season, she has comfortably secured the resources needed to continue funding her elite coaching staff, travel, and physical conditioning. But beyond the rankings and the money, the greatest asset Eala takes away from Wimbledon 2026 is an unshakable reservoir of self-belief. In her post-match press conference, she articulated this perfectly. She told reporters, "This week in general will add to my confidence. I think it's important that every match I play, I go in with the self-esteem and the thought that I'm able to win. There are so many positives. One, I think, is how I've handled pressure. I'm happy with how I faced it head-on. I think I kept cool when I needed to control my emotions." Looking ahead, the tennis calendar turns swiftly to the North American hardcourt swing, culminating in the U.S. Open in New York. Hard courts have traditionally been Eala's most comfortable surface. It is where she won her junior U.S. Open singles crown, and it is where she secured her maiden Grand Slam main draw victory as a professional. Armed with her newly refined serve, her aggressive returning, the tactical wisdom of Tony Nadal, and the profound confidence gained from conquering the Wimbledon grass, Alexandra Eala is going to be an absolute terror on the hard courts of Flushing Meadows. We are witnessing a paradigm shift in women's tennis. For years, the sport was dominated by a select few names. Today, the landscape is shifting, and new stars are emerging from entirely new regions. Alexandra Eala is the vanguard of this new era. She has proven that world-class tennis talent can emerge from the Philippines, that a 21-year-old can mentally break a defending champion on the sport's biggest stage, and that you do not need to have a dozen Grand Slam titles to capture the imagination of the entire United Kingdom. The obsession is real. The hype is entirely justified. Alexandra Eala has arrived, and the tennis world will never be the same. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of the most incredible sports stories of the year. The journey of this young Filipina star is only just beginning, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what she does next. We will be tracking her progress through the hard court season and into the U.S. Open, so make sure you stay tuned for all the updates. Until next time, keep watching the courts, because history is being made right before our eyes.